You opened Instagram this morning. Maybe you didn't even realize you were doing it. And within 30 seconds, you already felt a little worse about your life. Not because anything bad happened to you, but because someone else's life looked better. Here's something that should stop you cold. Psychologists have found that social comparison is one of the single biggest predictors of unhappiness in modern life. Not failure, not loss, comparison. We are literally making ourselves miserable by looking sideways at other people's lives. And the wildest part? We can't seem to stop. Today, I want to show you why we do this, what it's actually costing you, and a way of thinking that genuinely frees you from it. Not a motivational poster, a real shift. Let's get into it. Here's the thing nobody tells you about comparison. It's not a flaw, it's a feature. Your brain didn't develop this habit to make you miserable. It developed it to keep you alive. Imagine you're living in a small tribe, thousands of years ago. If everyone around you suddenly starts hoarding food and you're the only one who hasn't noticed, you're in trouble. Watching what others do, what they have, how they behave, was a survival signal. Your brain was constantly asking, am I falling behind? Am I safe? Do I belong? That ancient wiring is still running inside you, right now. But back then, you were comparing yourself to maybe 30 or 40 people you actually knew. People whose struggles you understood, whose bad days you saw. Now, you're comparing yourself to thousands of strangers every single day. And not their real lives, their highlight reels. The promotion, not the 2 years of quiet rejection before it. The vacation photo, not the credit card debt that paid for it. Your brain is running a program designed for a tribe of 40, inside a world of 4 billion profiles, and it is exhausted. Most people think comparison motivates them. Here's why that's almost never true. Meet Sarah. She's a graphic designer, genuinely talented, building her freelance career one client at a time. Then one afternoon, she stumbles across another designer online. Same age, already running a 6-figure studio, speaking at conferences, living in a beautiful apartment. Sarah doesn't feel inspired. She feels deflated. Suddenly, her own work feels small. Her progress feels embarrassingly slow. She starts second-guessing her style, her prices, her choices. She spends 2 hours redesigning her portfolio to look more like this other person. And by the end of the day, her work looks less like her, not more like her best self. That's what comparison quietly does. It doesn't push you forward. It pulls you sideways. And the stress it creates is real, clinical, measurable stress. When you hold yourself against an unrealistic standard built on someone else's privileges and invisible advantages, your nervous system responds like a genuine threat. Cortisol rises, anxiety creeps in, you feel permanently behind in a race you never signed up for. And worst of all, you start becoming someone else. Your authentic self gets quieter and quieter. Here's the fact that genuinely surprised me when I first came across it. Psychologists have a term, the fundamental attribution error. It means we look at other people's success and attribute it to talent or effort, while overlooking every external factor that shaped their outcome. Meanwhile, when we look at our own struggles, we feel every single obstacle personally. In plain English, you see their result. You feel your entire journey. That is never a fair fight. Think about 2 runners in a race. One started at the finish line. One started a mile back. If you only see the photo at the end, you'd think the person who arrived first is simply faster. But they didn't run the same race. They never did. Every person you compare yourself to started from a different place, different family, different resources, different timing, different moments of luck or hardship you will never fully see. Comparison doesn't just ignore those differences. It erases them and then hands you the verdict. You're losing. But you were never in the same race to begin with. What if the thing you're most insecure about is actually your greatest asset? Here's something I want you to sit with for a moment. Every single person on this planet is genuinely, measurably, irreducibly unique. Not in a bumper sticker way, in a biological, experiential, neurological way. There has never been another person who sees the world through your exact combination of experiences, relationships, wounds, joys, and ideas. Not one, in all of human history. And that's not a consolation prize. That's the point. The world doesn't become beautiful when everyone arrives at the same destination. It becomes beautiful because everyone is walking a different path. A forest isn't magnificent because all the trees look the same. It's magnificent because they don't. Your path is different from the person you've been comparing yourself to. Your circumstances are different. Your timing is different. What looks like falling behind might actually be you taking the longer route that leads somewhere more interesting. Some of the most extraordinary lives ever lived looked like failure for years before they looked like success. Stop comparing yourself to other people entirely. Here's who to compare yourself to instead. Yesterday's version of you, not the person with more followers, not the friend with the bigger salary, not the stranger with the better body. You versus who you were last week, last month, last year. Did you get a little clearer today than you were yesterday? Did you handle something a little better than you would have 6 months ago? Did you learn one thing you didn't know before? That's not small. That's actually everything. Because here's what that kind of comparison does. It shows you real progress on real terms in your actual life, not someone else's life projected onto yours. Think about an athlete. One who compares their time to a world record every single session isn't going to get faster. They're going to get discouraged. But an athlete who compares today's time to last week's, they can see momentum, and momentum is what builds extraordinary things. Be better than yesterday's version of you. Tomorrow, try to be better than today's. That's not a compromise. That's the actual game. The goal isn't to stop noticing other people entirely. That would be impossible, and frankly, pretty joyless. The goal is to change what you do with what you notice. When you see someone doing something that genuinely fascinates you, when you look at their work, their life, their energy, and feel something light up inside you, that's not a wound. That's a signal. That's your own potential recognizing something it wants. The difference between comparison and inspiration is this. Comparison looks at someone else and says, I'm not enough. Inspiration looks at someone else and says, that's possible. What can I learn? One closes you down, the other opens something up. So the next time you feel that pull of fascination toward a creator, a thinker, an athlete, an artist, stay in the curiosity. Ask what specifically moves you about them. Because usually, when you dig into that, you find a part of yourself that's been waiting for permission. Let other people's brilliance show you what's possible, not what you're lacking. So here's where we land. Comparison is ancient, automatic, and almost impossible to avoid entirely, but it is absolutely possible to change your relationship with it. Stop measuring your one unique, complicated, still unfolding life against someone else's carefully curated highlight reel. The race you're imagining? You're not even in it. You're on your own road, with your own timing, your own terrain, and your own destination. The only version of you worth competing with is who you were yesterday. And that person, you can absolutely beat them. If this video gave you even one thing worth keeping, share it with someone who needs to hear it.